Hey everybody, welcome back to the Contrarians. We have another Dark Horse album edition for you. This is a series that we started where we get our panel together, folks that are either on one side of the fence or the other about this album, or sometimes in the middle. And we typically pick Dark Horse albums, which may not be the best album by a band, but usually fall somewhere in the middle or maybe even closer to the bottom. And what we usually do is we go around and each person gives a quick review of the album and whether they're yay or nay or how much they rank it out of 10. We're the Contrarians. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good, Margo.
Doing fine. Looking forward to this.
Awesome.
Great.
I think we have another friend who might be joining on a few minutes late, but that's okay. He'll join on when he's ready. We also have Nick there, and I think his camera's off for now, but he'll turn it on when he's good to go. Other than that, you can follow us, like and subscribe to our channel. You can subscribe to us over at Patreon. We do these awesome chats over at Patreon, and you can join at any tier and join our chats. We also have a TeePublic link in the description if you want to buy any Contrarians t-shirts. And we have a Ko-Fi or Ko-fi, however you want to pronounce that, where you can donate to the channel without having to subscribe on a monthly basis. Other than that, today our topic of discussion is In Through the Outdoor, the last official studio album from Led Zeppelin. They had Coda after that, but that was kind of like a release of some material that hadn't been released and things like this. I do have... I have a note that Todd is wrapping up another video and will be here soon. I do want to show there are variant covers to this album, which Tim pointed out to me. There's actually 6. I have this photo up, so we'll just show this real quick. So apparently there's at least these 6 variant covers. And then if you have it on cassette, there's also like a paper bag cover. But you can see the different covers here. So there wasn't just one cover to In Through the Outdoor. And I have some research that I'm going to go through. And you can see my background, the different variant covers. So here's my research. So just some rankings, just to kind of put things into perspective, where this album generally gets ranked. It's kind of like a consensus among different review websites and things like that. So our friend Pete over at Sea of Tranquility, he did a ranking of the Led Zeppelin albums. He ranked Into the Outdoor at number 8, as second last, ahead only of Coda. Just a couple quick quotes from him. Not prime Zeppelin, but strong enough. Pete says it is Zeppelin at their most melodic, but lacking power. Praised In the Evening and said Carousel Ombra was a cool tune. Says he likes it, but doesn't love it. And his number 1 was Physical Graffiti. Best ever albums ranked In Through the Outdoor at number 8 and had Zeppelin 4 at number 1. Rolling Stone Readers Poll had In Through the Outdoor at number 9. With only Coda coming in behind at number 10. In Through the Outdoor left fans and critics divided. It's the most mellow and experimental disc in their catalog, but it was clear the creative fires were going out. Number 1 was Zeppelin 4. Ultimate Classic Rock had In Through the Outdoor at number 9, last place, with even Coda coming in ahead of it. With Jimmy Page and John Bonham spiraling into substance abuse and booze, the other half of Led Zeppelin was left to piece together the group's latest iteration. The results, outside of the odd, greasy groover like In the Evening or Southbound Suarez, often couldn't be any further away from the monstrous blues rock that Zeppelin had unleashed 10 years before. Their number 1 was Zeppelin 4. Esquire had In Through the Outdoor last at number 8. No Coda was on the list. The band was uncertain about its future, and that can be heard on an album that was difficultly navigating a new decade where Zeppelin's style of rock was rapidly being exchanged for new emerging trends. While All of My Love remains a touching tribute to Plant's son and Fool in the Rain became a radio hit, the album is, as a whole, representative of Led Zeppelin's tragic ending. Their number 1 was Zeppelin 4. Other than that, sales figures were quite good for this album. It went multi-platinum. It charted quite high, both in the US and in the UK. That's pretty much all my research. So I'm going to throw it over to the experts now. I'm going to start with Tim from Tim's Vinyl Confessions. Tim, take it away. What do you rank it out of 10? Let us know where we can find you. And are you yay or nay on the album?
Well, as I said before we started filming, and it got some reactions, I got into Zeppelin in 1992 when I got into a lot of older bands like Queen and Kansas. So I kind of went back and got into it all at once. In Through the Outdoor is my personal favorite Led Zeppelin album. And I know that's as contrarian as it gets. It's even more contrarian than the Contrarians episode that you did on Zeppelin, which made Presence the least favorite. But there's something about the synthesizers, the use of synthesizers surprised me as someone who had only heard a few of their songs. It sounded very quote unquote modern. And I just listened to it a lot. It was the first Led Zeppelin album I ever bought, and I still get a soft spot for it. Ultimately, I would never try and argue for it as their best because I know it's not their best, and it has a lot of flaws. But it's the one I've gotten the most use out of, the most good out of, and yeah, I know it's a very unpopular opinion, but it's a 10 for me.
Nice.
Wow, awesome. All right, we're going to start with a high number.
I'm going to throw the whole average off.
And we can find you over at Tim's Vinyl Confessions on YouTube.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to throw it over to Todd. Thanks for joining us. I know you're a few minutes late. We had a little mix up with the scheduling thing, but I'm glad that you made it. Todd, thanks for joining us. We're talking about In Through the Outdoor. I did a little bit of research. It's generally ranked pretty low in consensus, but it did sell quite well. Tim just gave the album a 10 out of 10. So we have that on the scoreboard. So I'm going to throw it over to you. Let us know if you have anything to plug as well in your little spiel. But tell us, are you yay or nay on the album and what you rank it out of 10?
I am yay on the album. Do you want the review at the end or right now? I mean, do you
right
want the
now.
rating?
Yeah, go for it.
So I think this album, this is the only. When this album came out, I was in the 10th grade, I think, and with what I was listening to, I was listening to prog, but also post-punk and new wave and stuff like that. So when this album came out, prior to this album coming out, I wasn't interested in Led Zeppelin at all. So so when this album came out and I heard it, I just thought it was fantastic. I can remember my friends and I. It's funny because you see people. Well, I'll go in order. I think In the Evening is great. I think Southbound Suarez is really cool. I think Fool in the Rain is definitely very unique as well. Although I think maybe it goes a little bit too long. But my friends and I all thought that Hot Dog was pretty cool. We liked it. We thought it was fun. And it's funny how people tend to be down on that song, like they're down on the crunge, like Led Zeppelin's not allowed to have any fun. But I mean, Jimmy Page produced these records and he must think that those songs belong there. So it's never bothered me. But I really loved Carousel Alhambra when this record came out, and I still love it. I think it's a good use of their secret weapon, which is John Paul Jones and his multi-instrumental talents. And this is going to be my contrarian opinion. I'm Gonna Crawl is my favorite Led Zeppelin song, and I don't think anything's even close to it. I think it's so powerful. I think it's the greatest Bonham drum sound. I think it's just a blistering Robert Plant vocal. And that really surprised me when I was younger because I wasn't interested in anything like the slightest bit bluesy or anything like that. But when I heard I'm Gonna Crawl, I just didn't know what to make of it. I was just like, wow. And I was really, really taken aback with it. And it's still my favorite Led Zeppelin song. This isn't my favorite Led Zeppelin album. I think that's probably Physical Graffiti, but this is really close. And so I'm not going to give it a 10, but I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Cool.
We got some high scores to start us off. I'm going to throw it over to Martin next. We can find your books over at martinpopoff.com.
I believe so. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Tell us what you think of In Through the Outdoor.
Well, I'm going to start with a few factoids just to build on what Marco's good research has told us. So this came out August 15th of 79. I remember hearing it on Creme FM radio out of Spokane. They played the whole album. I was ready with my two fingers on play and recorded it. I was also in grade 10. And then September 25th, 1980, John Bonham died. The Led Zeppelin's last show was July 7th, 1980 in Berlin. And from this album, the only songs they ever played live off of this album, they played them that night. It was In the Evening, Hot Dog, and All My Love. There are no John Bonham credits on this album, which is an interesting thing. So it went gold. January 1980, it was gold. Simultaneously platinum. By 84, So 5 years later, triple platinum, 5 times platinum in 90, and in 97, 6 times platinum. So this was a big, big selling album. And just to clarify, on this front cover thing, you're right, there are 6 different ones, but Marco, just to put a finer point on them, all of them had the paper bag. So you couldn't see what was in it, so no one knew what cover they were getting. That was part of the thing, and that's why the cassette has the paper bag. But yeah, every single one came in a paper bag, and there were 6 different. And of course, there's the other thing of note that everybody should know is the inner sleeve. When you get it wet, it turns color, right? So it had color infused into the inner sleeve. So you wet it and it turns these primary colors. I interviewed Aubrey Powell. This is my Led Zeppelin book. Unfortunately, it's out of print. It's the greatest book I ever did because basically I had to write 400 or 500 words on every single Led Zeppelin song. Beautiful, beautiful book. There's 5 or 6 pages on this album in it, but unfortunately out of print. But I interviewed Aubrey, and there's the story of this in there. So this was them recreating the front cover art for a smoky, vibe filled New Orleans pub, but they built the whole thing meticulously in London I think in a studio to do that, to take all those shots. And Aubrey Powell says, none of the pictures, we have none of that stuff. And it's a real shame. We should have shot video of it. We didn't. And he said, soon as we were done, it all went into the garbage tip behind the building or whatever. So pretty wild. So basically that beautiful, beautiful shot was done. And what it is, it's 6 different views of this guy burning a Dear John letter. And it's the different viewpoints from the other people in the bar watching this scene go down. And that's what the whole idea is. And there's your back cover of it. So this album, I remember we were quite horrified at it when it first came out for being so mellow. There's not a single heavy song on it. In the Evening is as heavy as it gets. It's got a little bit of that stuff from I think he lifted that stuff forward from the whole Kenneth Anger, Lucifer Rising thing, that spooky music at the beginning, and it is pretty haunting. But then the song kicks in, and it's just this weird kind of lazy, hard rocking, semi-hard rocking song. But it's okay. I like it. It's got that cool noisy guitar solo thing in there. That might have to do that Gizmotron thing that Jimmy was using on it. I think this is probably the best produced Led Zeppelin album out of all of them. I think this is where you really, really, really get the John Bonham drum sound the best. I love Southbound Saurez, and that's just a really cool, different, they were looking to try some fresh things. Fool in the Rain, I quite like as well. It was a single. It was not a huge hit. It just missed the top 20, but it's a pretty cool song with that really cool, loping beat that Bonzo puts on it. Hot Dog, I don't like. I don't think they did a very good job of it, nor is it very creative. And I think it has kind of a stumbling, stiff quality to it. I don't know. I don't think they're grooving at all on it. And I think some of it might be Jimmy's fault. I think he plays a little bit of a rough performance on it, but I don't particularly like it. Carousel Alhambra, I did a top 20 at these short ebooks you can get from Zunior.com, 99 cents. I did 8 or 9 of these top 20s of all time. I rated Carousel Alhambra, my 3rd favorite Led Zeppelin song of all time. Let's see. I'll just read a little bit of this. Far and away my favorite track on it. Progressive, even somewhat spirited and heavy compared to the rest of the album. The bass line is a joy to behold, and John Bonham's steady, muscular rhythm with perfect fills helped create a juggernaut from the rhythm end of things. Jimmy just sort of harangues around his heroin problem, creating the perfect parts, and that incessant, almost obsessive keyboard part is perfect. Robert sounds wise, mature, using his newly limited range as the band on a sort of victory lap, worked through beautifully melodic progressive rock movements, down winding on the halfway point, through a murky mysterious blues, then it goes on and on. So All My Love, not crazy about it. It's an okay song. I do kind of like the chord sequences on it. And I'm Gonna Crawl is okay. I'm not a huge lover of it, but overall, I really do like this album. Like I say, I could just listen to this album the same way I can listen to Abacab just for the production of it. It's just got this weird in an analog space production, but just something really kind of joyful about the sounds coming out of everybody. And as has been mentioned already, this is a big John Paul Jones album. He was kind of left to his devices and allowed to do a lot of stuff on it. So I really like it for that. But yeah, for blues songs, I'm very, negative Zeppelin blues songs, but this is probably my favorite out of all of them. So I quite like it. And we should mention that Ozone Baby and Darlene from Coda are from these sessions, and they both would have made this album a fair bit heavier. Those are actually rockier than anything on the whole album, save for maybe arguably a little bit of In the Evening and Carousel. I love Ozone Baby to death, though. That would have been my second favorite song on the album. I would rate this. I would put this in the ranking certainly above 1 and 2. I'm not big fans of 1 and 2. They definitely are my lowest for exactly the same reasons. Paranoid and Black Sabbath 1 are my 2 lowest of the first 8 Sabbath. I don't put Coda in the ranking at all just because of what it is. Compilation of different times. I would put In Through the Outdoor. My heart tells me it's higher than the ones I'll put together in a clump, which is Houses of the Holy and Presence. But I would kind of put those into a tie. I would put Physical Graffiti first, 3 second, Houses of the Holy next. What did I just leave out? Didn't leave out anything. So the 3 in the middle for me are In Through the Outdoor, Presence, and what did I say? So yeah, so Physical Graffiti, 3, 4. That's the one I left out. So then the next 3, this would be in with those ones. I will give this a ranking of I'll go 7.5 out of 10.
Awesome. Thanks, Martin. I'm going to throw it over to John next, and I know we can find you on YouTube at My Music Corner.
That is correct. And if I can get my throat to work. Yeah. So my thing on this album is I think I listened to side 2 of Coda probably more than I have ever listened to In Through the Outdoor. Martin mentioned about Ozone Baby and Darlene. Let's not forget about Wearing and Tearing. That also was recorded for those same sessions. And my goodness, what a rocker Wearing and Tearing is, but that's for another discussion. I just never really got into this album that much. I like In the Evening. I always thought that was a great track. Listening to it again, Southbound Suarez is good. I think Full in the Range is kind of meanders a little too long. I think Jimmy's solo with that whatever effect he's using, like maybe that's that Gizmotron that he was talking about. I don't know. That kind of meanders a little while. Hot Dog's okay for the country rock feel. Carousel, it's got good parts. I just kind of think the way it ends just is kind of anticlimactic almost. I don't know. It just kind of just drops off. I do like some of the sections in that song though, that especially that really slow yeah, I love that section. Good Lord, that was great. All My Love, I know it's a beautiful track for Robert's son, but it's just never did a whole lot for me. And I'm Gonna Crawl, I think it's just as good of a slow blues as since I've been loving you and T for One. Probably my third favorite as far as the blues epics go for that. It just never did anything for me. I would probably rank it at the bottom. As good as the album is, you got to put something at the bottom, and unfortunately this one's it for me. But it is a good album. I don't want to diss it completely. I actually didn't really know what the term In Through the Outdoor meant until I read about it. And it had something to do because of they had all kinds of tax exile issues. And the idea of trying to go back to England to play was literally like trying to go in through the outdoor. And that was where the term comes from. I was like, that's interesting. Never knew that. But For me, I probably would only give this about a 6.
Awesome. So our lowest score so far, we've got a 10 and we've got a 6. And we're going to throw it over to Nick next. And we're going to see if he gives us another new number, if he's high or low on it, and let us know if we can find you anywhere, Nick.
Oh, you'll find me right here on the Contrarians. Get that out of the way. That's all I have time for. And maybe you'll see me sneaking on another offshoot Contrarian show. But I'm positive on this album. My grade is probably a little hard, but I'm rating it in comparison to other Zeppelin albums. So I would give it a 7.5, but I really like the album. I like this album more than, if I were to throw in Coda and Presence. And I probably go to this album more than some others, like Zeppelin 3. Don't go back to that one that much.
Nick, you are where your camera's off, eh?
Oh, sorry. Hang on a second. Yeah, well,
here we go.
Yeah, am I on now?
Yeah.
What happened there? All right. So my thought was that I found this to be an upbeat album, a positive album. I like the production. When you compare it with Presence to me is just sort of dark and cloudy. And I find this to be just a more upbeat type of record album that you can put on at a cookout or a party or something. The track-wise, there's more dimensions to this album. There's different types of music in it, and what are they doing here? I'm going to sound like I drank the Martin Popoff Kool-Aid, but they've shed their blues skin on this album. There's different layers and different dimensions, almost like they graduated from the blues licks to go on to some other things, like sort of that soul R&B track at the end. You got the rockabilly / country of Hot Dog. You've got some other types of sounds going on there, maybe in New Orleans. So, they seem like they've evolved away from the blues stuff, although I like the blues stuff. Track-wise, I could see where you wouldn't like Hot Dog. I really like that song. To me, it's a track where these guys really love that style of music. The track I don't like, which I'll be contrary to the Contrarians, I really don't like Carousel Ombra. I think it's too long. I think that the vocals are almost indecipherable. And today, for the first time in 30-some years, I went and listened or read the lyrics. And does anybody know what the song's about? I mean, to me, it's more like you should have like pan flutes and mandolins. It's like plant at his plantest, or even a harpsichord. So to me, like when you have all this driving synth, and there's a lot going on with the bass, so there's things I do like about the song, but there's all this, like, to me, it's disjointed. Like the vocal content, the lyric content doesn't match what's going on in the song, and so I find that disjointed. But
just to butt in a little, that it is vague, and it is a really cool lyric to read. It's a very odd, but rumor has it it's a little bit about the breakdown of band relations, and possibly there's a little bit in there about how the band didn't really support him when his son Carrick died.
Got it.
Like come to the funeral or whatever, or much support. So there's a little bit of digs about all the guys are, we're not very close, and this kind of hurt Robert and all this kind of stuff. I've read things that said in more of a commenting point of view that it reads almost like a Viking poem. From the old days.
Right.
It's very poetic and strange. Like, it's a really, really interesting enigmatic lyric, because a lot of the critics put down this record for having some pretty crappy lyrics.
And I read that in preparing for this, but when I compared like the lyrics of that song,
Nick, your camera's off again, eh?
I know. I'm going to keep it off for a second.
Okay.
All right, just because I wrote a note down. I think what happens is when I look at a note, it doesn't.
Okay.
It turns my camera off. But when I listen to the lyrics, when I heard that song, I just can't even. I literally cannot hear what he's saying, because the synth is driving. There's other things driving on it, and it's sort of way in the back. So it just never grabbed me. And plus, in the age of CDs now, where everything's a click, I just don't get through that song. It's 10 minutes. Like, whoa, there's a lot to do. To jump ahead, we've been mentioning Coda. In my mind, if you were to replace Carousel Ombra with Darlene and Ozone Baby, and maybe throw in the wearing and tearing.
Yeah.
This album would be a 9 or a 10 for me. So for me, I would have flipped that song out and thrown in those other two. And if people really hate Hot Dog, I would replace like Darlene with Hot Dog. But anyway, we could play with that all day. But the Southbound Suarez, to me, Robert's vocal on that is fantastic. It's almost like a jazz approach. And I know that they had, it's like he and John Paul Jones were working in the studio, and then they turned it over to Page and Bonham. But that vocal sound like it's lived in. It sounds playful. There's a lot going on there with the bass. You've got a lot of piano driving that song as well as other songs in this album, which I really like. That adds to the multi-dimensional part of this with John Paul Jones. You throw in some synths. I go back to Carousel Alhambra. I just think it's too heavy-handed, but there's so many good things going on with those songs that I give it points for that. So again, I rated it 7.5, but it's a positive 7.5, and I'm stacking it up against other songs in that collection that are other albums in the Zeppelin canon that are just fantastic. But anyway,
nice.
That's my review.
Awesome, solid rating. Rand, welcome to the show.
Hello.
How you
Took me
doing?
forever to get on. Thank you very much, Todd Evans.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Rand. We're talking about In Through the Outdoor. Why don't you give us a rating out of 10 and let us know if you're yay or nay on the album?
Oh my God, a rating out of 10. Huh? Well, I didn't buy it when it first came out. A lot of people did, and I could hear it everywhere I went. So, I don't know. I was like, it was always really hard for me to get into this record. I remember we actually sat down and listened to it, and really got into it, my friend and I, and nothing really grabbed me until Carousel Alhambra, which I absolutely love. I think it's one of the greatest songs I've ever done. John Paul Jones is a magician on that song. They're doing so many cool things. In the Evening, I mean, it has that relentless lick that just goes dan, 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 and I'm not sure, but I think they regurgitated it in Carousel Alhambra, if I'm not mistaken, in a different key, but I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I heard it. I'm really unprepared for this show. I know I don't like I'm Gonna Crawl. I never did. I mean, I always called it I'm Gonna Die if I have to listen to it again. But, this came out, and then all of a sudden we heard that John Bonham was gone, and it was like, it put a whole different feel on the record. You start listening to it in a sort of a somber way because, you really respected and felt like, these guys were your friends. I mean, I got turned on to this band in 1969, and I was, 17 years old or whatever. And my cousin turned me on to the first two, and I fell in love with them. I was just starting to learn how to play guitar, and Jimmy Page just tore my head off when I heard that solo and Whole Lot of Love. I mean, actually, when I heard Communication Breakdown was really the one that really got me going. That's really a punk rock song, that Communication Breakdown, but it just kicks ass. This album is just such a different change from that, and when I was just talking about Fool in the Rain, I'm going to go into this a little bit, that rising chord progression that if you're a musician, you'll understand what I'm talking about. They're in the key of C, and then it goes D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, G, and it goes dun, 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 and they got that. I think they got that, or Jimmy Page got that from Sly and the Family Stone's song called Hot Fun in the Summertime. But it turns out that Genesis did it even worse. They stole the exact feel of it. They not only took the same chords, Phil wrote that song all by himself. I just got done doing a Genesis reviews with Todd and Ryan and Grant talking about Abacab and Duke. And I'm misunderstanding. They steal that's perfect rip-off, or whatever you call it, from Sly Stone. But anyways, Fool in the Rain kind of does the same, but it's a little different feel. And then they go that real fast part. The coolest thing about this album, besides Carousel Alhambra, is Jimmy Page playing a solo in Fool in the Rain using what they call an octavider, which makes his Gibson Les Paul sound like a bass guitar, which is really cool. And Jeff Beck used it a lot too. Southbound Suarez or whatever. I really don't know much about that tune. I probably wasn't paying much attention. Hot Dog, it sounds like fun 50s type rock and roll, and In the Evening, it's a good intro song, I guess. But I would have started the album out with Carousel Alhambra and just got everybody really going, because it's such a cool tune. All My Love it's okay. I guess that's the one they play on the radio the most on Classic FM. It's an okay song. It's not my favorite Led Zeppelin song by any long shot, but yeah, I'd probably give this like a 3.5, I guess, out of 5. There's nothing wrong with it too much, but just seems like it's sort of uninspired, and except for Carousel Alhambra. I mean, if they didn't have that song on there, I probably would have never bought it.
Wow, you brought down the score, Rand. Everybody was way higher.
He said out of 5, though. Did you mean 7 out of 10 then?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant 3.5. Okay.
Well, that would be a 7.5 out of 10.
7 out of 10. All right. So our average score as a whole is 7.75 out of 10. So that's not bad. That's a pretty good average score for In Through the Outdoor. Yeah. And so that's our Dark Horse album. Other than that, thanks everybody for stopping by, and like and subscribe our channel if you can. And all these folks' channels will be in the description, so check them out as well. And thanks a lot for coming by, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks again. See you guys later.
Everybody.